Good morning, YouTube. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. We do have another little topic for today's video. We shall talk about clipping and some of the causes, so stay tuned. Alright guys, now that that's over with, let's get into it. I've kind of touched on this subject before, but we just got to dive in a little bit extra. And we're going to talk about clipping. Now, clipping can start from a number of causes. We're going to start at the head unit. Very, very few head units are clean at max volume. That's why most people, like my head unit, it goes to volume 35. I normally set max. The max volume clean that I tune to on my head unit is normally 32. I normally demo around 29. But I know if I need to, I can go up to 32. If I was going to run the lanes, I would put it on volume 32. I would also clip it. I personally set my head unit and the gains on my amplifiers, volume 32, a negative 5 dB, 40 hertz tone. And that's because I mostly listen to DJ Rusticals, which is recorded around negative 6 or so. That way I know it's clean. Now, when I go through the lanes, I usually burp a 0 dB track. Definitely clipping, but you know, get a little clip in there, get you a little dB gain maybe, so it works. But now, at your head unit, if you turn to max volume and you don't know where you're set at, that's why it's important to set all this stuff properly. Like, pick you a number wherever you want, a couple clicks away from full tilt on the head unit. Gain knob all the way up, or the bass. What? Man, it's early, guys. Forgive me. Bass knob all the way up and set your gains. And if they don't have a clip light on your amplifiers, DD1 works great. Oscilloscope, only they're a little, sometimes hard to really look at the you know, the hump on there to see if you're getting squared off. And yeah, I have both. I prefer the DD1, honestly. But anymore, I don't even really use it because my amps have clip lights on them, so it takes the guesswork out of it. Now, music you listen to. Now, that can be real tricky because if you set your gains at negative 5 dB and you download from a rebaser that decides he wants to go ahead and throw you out a 0 dB track, and you turn to your normal point where you adjust everything to, you're going to be clipping. That's how it works. And that happened to me in here the other day when I had my sub smoking. I was playing music that I didn't know. It was recorded at a higher dB than what I'm tuned to. So we let a little smoke out. You know, if you let smoke out, you can't put it back. Wish you could. Poor guys. But anyway, now, with these causes of clipping, there's another big one that I see in all these audio groups that people are like, everything's set clean, I don't know what happened. I probably do. I probably know what you did wrong. It ain't anything you did wrong. You know, I have a voltmeter in my dash, and I made sure I tried numerous voltmeters, and I would install it. It is definitely connected to the bank in the back. And I would get a voltmeter, hook it up, turn the key on, make sure it came on. I'd look at what the voltmeter said. I'd go in the back, probe my bank with my multimeter until I found one that was right on the money. Some have a little knob that you can dial to like fine tune it in. So I trust it. This is pretty much on par with my voltmeter in the dash. But I have really solid electrical in here, and with both alternators on, I'll drop like 2/10. Now, with me charging at the 16 to 16.2 volt range, something that I really paid attention to and thought long and hard about and figured out was if I let my Jeep set all weekend on my days off, which, you know, I'm off on Sundays and Mondays, so I drive it home Saturday night. I go out there Monday is the day I like to pick to set my gains after my Jeep has set. A lot of amplifiers, they just have a parasitic draw. They will pull down your battery a little bit. So I like going out there when I'm around 15.5. And I'll start the old Jeep up and I'll turn the alternators off and I just go through one by one and reset my gains, you know. I'll set amp 1 and I'll have the multimeter hooked up to it on AC voltage, and I use the clip light on the amp. I pick the spot, you know, where there's no clip light with that lower voltage, and I'll go through and I'll gain match the rest of them, because after I get that first amp reading with my alternators off, just running strictly off battery at 15.5, that gives me a good solid number that amp produced to set my other amplifiers to. So when I do play up to like 16, 16.2, when my volts are that high, I'm definitely not clipping. I can drop down to that 15.5 point and still be safe, especially with me playing a couple clicks on the head unit away from where I set everything up. Now, if I would go out there and like start the Jeep, both alternators on, get up to 16.2 and then set my gains at 16.2, even though I'm a couple clicks away, I could probably drop down to the 15.5-ish or 15.7. So, I don't know, somewhere in there. But I could drop down to that while I'm demoing. But you're going to hit a fine line where you go on the other side of that, even 2 clicks away, and the amps are going to start clipping, because, you know, they were set on this voltage producing this power. And when you get below that, that introduces clipping into the amp. So even though head unit clean, everything else clean, when amplifiers are struggling and they don't have the electrical to make the wattage or to produce the power that you set at, they definitely will start clipping. And this was something I learned when I had tar amps in here. And one thing I loved about tar amps, I know a lot of you guys hate tar amps. I loved them. I had great luck with them. But the MD8Ks, they had the plug on it where you could plug the clip meter in. So right here on my dash above my voltmeter, I actually had all 4 of the clip meters. And, you know, I noticed this was a common thing. I've always, like, set my gains and played for demoing, like, 2 clicks under. And I'd be 2 or 3 clicks under wherever I set my gains to on the amplifiers. When I would set them at 16 volt on the money, I would notice that when I dropped down to like 15.8, 15.7, the clip lights would just flash. And when I got my voltage back up, it wouldn't happen. So, you guys, if you see me at shows, I use like the same songs the majority of the time to demo with. So that definitely was a factor, and it was where I set my gains at. Yeah, setting them at like 15.5 volt, you're not going to lose very much. Like on dB, probably, you're not going to lose a whole lot. On demoing, it's just that point where you're set to, you know. What if it's a 10th here and there? I mean, it's really, at the end of the day, it's worth it. Especially if you don't have clip indicators up front and your amps are mounted in the back. Mine, they're in the back. I got these Korean amps, and they do come with a clip indicator on a bass knob. Hate it, guys. I absolutely hate it. Like, tar amps, that was one of the best things ever. And revolutionary that I think they did was giving you, you know, like, I don't think they gave it to you. I think you had to buy it. I remember buying a few extra, or buying them when I got more amps, but it was so worth it. I mean, you could look right there on the dash and be like, okay, yeah, this is the problem. When I had 2 amps in here wired down to 0.33, which you don't run tar amps that low, they say, and I did find out they have like a 0.7 impedance rise cutoff. So when the amplifier itself sees 0.7, they cut off. So me wired at like 0.3, with rise, I stayed above that most time. There was a couple songs that I could play, and the bass drop in the songs would actually get me, I guess, lower than that 0.7-ish, 0.8, wherever it's at. Because, like, both of my lights in the dash, the protect clip light, they'd go straight to protect. Like, okay. The first few times, I got scared. Like, I was just like, oh, God. But I'd reset the head unit, and they come right back on. So, that let me know I had the electrical to help it. It was just, you know, I dropped below that impedance. But I love that about the old Tahr amps, man, with that clip indicator. That thing was like golden to me. So now I had to be extra careful when I'm playing in here. And I'll ask my wife random times at shows. Like, as soon as I'm done, like, giving a demo to a person, I'm like, go back here and watch the amps on this next demo and tell me if I get a clip light. And, I mean, honestly, we've never seen a clip light on them other than when I set the gains, you know. You bump it up to clip light, back it off.
Say that again? Sorry.
Shut up!
I didn't hear what you said.
I hate these smartwatches. Hate them, guys. Gift from my wife, so I have to wear it. But anyway, those are some of the things that cause clipping, you know. You can actually get into clipping early if you have, like, bad grounds. Not enough power wire. I mean, you know, if you got, like, a 5K and you're trying to run it off some 4 gauge that's 15 foot long, it ain't going to happen. You're going to, like, go into clipping really early, and you're going to blow something because the amp can't pull the power. With the Tahr amps, I had the MD8Ks, and I actually found out that you can fit 4-aught in that, on the input of them. They take 4-aught. So I bought a bunch of 4-aught welding cable, which is the 4-aught that I use. So, and some of the runs, they were no longer than that going to my battery. So, I mean, I was giving them all the power they ever wanted, and they did great. So, with that being said, you know, like I said, there's a number of things that can cause you to clip. Clipping is bad. There are songs in here that I can play that are clean edits, like very clean, and I will never get a smell at all at volume 29 on my head unit. There are other songs, and they're either recorded at a higher dB or they're a little bit dirty. At 28, I get sub smell. So these are all factors to think about and consider just on your system as a whole. Like, do your subs ever get stinky at a certain volume on one song, but other songs that don't? Because these are things that have freaked me out, and I actually, like, had to go back and do testing on it, which sitting in a car and listening is still testing. When you compare, like, one song to another, it's still testing. But these are all things that I had to figure out along the way. It's like, okay, it's just a dirty-ass song. That's why I'm really careful on music that I choose to put in here and play. And some of the dirtiest songs, which I don't know if they're dirty or it's where they're recorded at, are on Apple Music. But I played some songs on Apple Music that have been perfectly fine. So it's really weird. But a lot of DJs, they'll be like, hey, can you play one of my tracks? And I'll message back and I'm like, yeah, what do you record to? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, do you go like -5, -7.5, -6? Where? Oh, I go deep or 0. And I'm like, nah, I don't even want to mess with that, you know. I honestly, personally, myself, I think Rusticals has risen up and set the standard on this just because he's doing so much more music than anybody else. You know, DJ Siren, she does a pretty clean edit too, but at the end of the day, I think Rustical's a little better, and the music choices. Yeah, Siren does some bangers from like the 80s and 90s, but Rustical's, he's just on top of all this new shit, and I really like that. And there's other rebasers that I've tried their edits, and they're really clean, like Logan Fletcher. He's the guy that did the Woodchuck song. And I was blown away with how clean that song was at 13 hertz. I'm just like, holy crap, you know. Like, this guy definitely, he recorded the right dB, he knew what he was doing. There was no clipping. But, guys, if these edits ain't clean, and some rebasers that go in and they'll clean up the bass line, right? Like, just, that's all they focus on. Then some of them focus on the song as a whole. that means your mids and highs is going to be crispy. Yeah, they got to, you know, fire. And a lot of rebasers, they just want to go in, do the bass track, and they don't care about the mids and highs. So, have I sent mids before? Yes. And is that part of the reason? Yes. It's like playing a new song, you know, you get carried away into it. Next thing you know, it's like, yeah, that mid over there quit working. And I actually, the horns I have in here, they had that phallalic, I think, diaphragm. And, or no, titanium diaphragm. They actually had the titanium, because I remember in videos that people were filming from outside of my Jeep, they saw sparks, like really pretty color, fly out the window. I'm like, what the heck is that from? Because they were telling me about it. Go back and look at the little video they shot, see it. And then I give another demo, and I keep like glancing over like this, like what's going on in that door, you know? And I saw all these sparks come out of the front of my horn. So there again, dirty edit. Clipping, yes, you can clip your mids and highs amps just as quick as you can clip a sub amp, guys. But this video is getting a little long. I definitely want to thank like the 4 or 5 of you guys that watch this thing all the way to the end. And I'm going to throw just a little bonus. It ain't nothing because I ain't really nobody special at all. But I have a lot of people like, are you going to be at TD8 show? Are you going to be at TD8 show? I'm going to try. Will the Jeep be there? I don't know. I got to, you know, at some point I need to start a rebuild in here. I'm not even 100% set in stone yet on what I am putting in here as far as the rebuild goes. I do know that the G2 Genesis are selling like, they're selling stupid fast now. I don't even know if Paul's going to have product for me to put in here. I don't know. You know, my whole plan was to get 2 more of the 15s, recone these 4 because I've been abusing them. Like this morning, I played 14 hertz in here. But that was my plan, is to recone these 4, put 2 new ones in, and run with it. But at this point, I don't even think he has any Genesis 15s in stock. So now we're scrambling to try to find 2 blown ones in Texas where he's at from other team members, and recone them, and then recone these and be golden. But if it don't work, I might throw a shit ton of 12s in here. I don't know yet. But I need to rebuild this. It really needs to happen, but it's too cold. And my garage is full of junk, so I got to do it in front of the garage. You guys know what I'm talking about. There's a few of you out there just like me. But I have new subs to put in the Blazer, which are Synergy WFOs. They look, you know, really impressive. I know Synergy, if the subs are anything like their amplifiers, is going to be golden. But according to all the specs on the subs, they should do great. The only thing that was really high is the FS is really high. Super stiff spider.
Could you try
if you
again?
guys know anything about like your sub specs, FS don't mean a whole
Sorry,
lot.
I'm still not sure
Shut up! God, I hate this one. But anyway, the FS don't mean a whole lot on your subwoofer specs, because FS is a brand new sub number. After you play it for a while, like a good long while, get the spider all loosened up and everything, or spiders, the FS is going to drop quick. But the Blazer will probably be at TDH. That's all. Y'all have a great day. Peace out, everybody. And as always, thank you for watching this shit. If you watched all the way through, bass on, guys.